Awesome.
We're going.
Hey everyone, we're going, yes. Welcome to the community meeting for October 13th. I hope everyone's doing okay. It's really good to see everyone's faces and or Zoom avatars / names. Yeah, welcome. The minutes are in the chat, and if you have not done so, please add your name to the minutes just so we can kind of keep track of attendance. And if there's an emoji that describes how you're feeling today, awesome. Or you can actually just use words. Or you can say what you're listening to this morning if you're listening to music, if you're a music fan while you work. You can really just put whatever you want. We don't care. It's fine. Whatever's on your mind.
It's fanned out over the weeks.
Yeah, it's all right.
Just put something after your name.
Yeah. It's all good. Okay, so let's see. So the first item on the agenda says, how are people doing meeting-wise? Weekly meetings, 30 minutes. And I'm guessing that Matt G put that on there.
I did. I just want to make sure everybody's doing okay. I know we're all crazy overloaded with Zoom meetings. And yesterday in the podcast that we had with Georg and Stephen and Brian Prophet, he reminded us to be very respectful of our time, our own personal time. And so it made me think he's right. And it just made me think I just always want to put that out there and just be attentive to people's time. People can tell me that it's totally fine, but where we're at, we're not.
All good here.
If we did take 20 minutes off our weekly meetings, because that's the effect. If we reduce it to 30 minutes, we just remove 20.
Yep.
It would certainly force us to focus much more than what we already are. And we would have less time for open discussions with all the things that are going on. We are reporting.
That is true. From. So we might lose a bit of that. Yep, to your point. We can keep it as is, but yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, are we okay with the weekly community call? Are we okay with the bi-weekly working groups, except for the D&I think meets weekly? How does the cadence feel to people? If the length seems okay, how does the cadence feel?
It also feels okay to me. I'm fine with it. I just always want to put it out there that if people feel like they need a chance to speak up or want to chime in, here it is.
I like weekly meetings, partly because I am so busy. So when I miss meetings, and when I miss a bi-weekly meeting, that's like I get to go to one a month. And so I always feel like it's easier to miss meetings if they're weekly.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this particular meeting, I think I'm okay the way it is. Like, I mean, you probably see me if I need to drop off like in 30 minutes because I need to go something else, like I'm always free to do that and catch up on notes. So I haven't felt that this meeting was particularly burdensome. So, okay. But I mean, that's probably because I'm an old timer, I'm used to it, but you know, there are a lot more newer people here, but.
Want you to all know we're all thinking of you, your time and your well-being. That's all.
All right, well, it sounds like people are okay with how things are. If that changes, certainly reach out to one of us, Matt, myself, Georg, even Nicole. You could reach out to Nicole as well. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for asking though, Matt. That's a good thing to keep in mind and be mindful of. So thank you for bringing that up.
Maybe because we just finished the project Burnout metric.
Right, yes.
Top of mind.
100%, yes. Okay, so the next thing on the list is Academic Open Source Working Group.
Howdy. How do we do this?
Well, we add a meeting.
Speaking of meeting.
So just again for the podcast yesterday, Stephen was the guest, and it was about a lot of the work that he's been doing at Rochester Institute of Technology, in particular, starting an open source program office there, which, as far as we know, is the second open source program office in a university, one of two, with Johns Hopkins being the other. Georg, you might tell me differently, or Stephen, you might tell me differently too. And so there's a growing interest in trying to understand open source in the academic setting. So this is around things like universities are obviously often grant funded, and we have technology that comes out of that work, and there's tech transfer offices, but open source can obviously play a critical role in this. Again, Stephen or Georg, jump in if I'm saying something that's not quite right. So there is a group called OSPO++. I don't know if that's the name of the group or if it's Moss Labs, but OSPO++.
OSPO++, yeah.
Is a group of folks who are, I think some are members of the to-do group, some are in the university side of things, and they're thinking through the complexities of setting up open source program offices within universities. And so Stephen we're talking with Stephen just because there are questions around what would be the things you would measure with respect to community development or impact of research software in the world. And so it's kind of the same questions, but a different context that we constantly ask. So part of the question maybe that I have is the CHAOSS project the place to have this working group where we try to invite folks from academe to think about ways to measure impact? I'll just stick with that one. Or is it in the OSPO++ group where we talk about metrics? I don't know quite the cadence of that group. They seem to meet only weekly once. Like, they don't really have working groups yet.
They don't have working groups. I think we moved to every 2 weeks, and it's still, I think it's a lot of people still figuring out what an OSPO in an academic context would look like and what it would do. So I think metrics is probably still too focused for most of them at this point. Georg is moving his head in agreement that they're not ready. So there's that anyway. I mean, what I'm trying to do at RIT and what Hopkins is trying to do is different strategies at the moment just to try to discover what's happening, right? We all know there's lots of open source, open data, open hardware, open science, open, but nobody knows what anybody else is doing. There's no center of gravity. There's no method for discovery. So before we can look at metrics, we have to figure out just who's doing what within our own institutions. For me and for my university, I will be going, right now I'm just basically kind of saying, hey, we started this thing and here's what it is, and maybe you want to be involved. That'll take this semester, just to go to all the different college-wide meetings and try to let people know what this thing is in a 10-minute slice. Next semester, the drill down will be along the lines of, okay, generally computer scientists, we know what you do and how you do it and what metrics would look like for you and where you publish and those kinds of things. But it's going to the engineers, it's going to the art school, it's going to the library, it's going to the other folks and saying, if a repo isn't it, right? For software and for hardware, sometimes the repo is the starting place. Like, what's the starting place for you guys? And where do you recruit? Where do you get people to hop on? Where do you publicize your work so that we can start looking at where we would collect things from? And as we discussed briefly here last time, a good chunk of the metrics that are already part of CHAOSS are a good starting point. It's what are the edges, right? What are the things outside of the overlap between academia and industry in terms of doing this kind of open work?
So what I just wanted to support what Stephen said earlier, that I think CHAOSS is a better place to have a focused conversation about metrics.
Okay.
And I'm also happy to advertise in the OSPO++ group for anyone that is already ready to think about metrics. Most of them are not. Most of them are still in the stage of what is an OSPO, what would it look like at my institution, how do I convince the rest of the university that we should start an OSPO?
So what would you think about at least starting this conversation in the value working group? Because I mean, there are metrics around organizational value and individual value. We have been looking at societal value quite a bit lately, but I mean, there are focus areas in the value working group. And the only reason I'm suggesting this is maybe the group of people is not very big at the moment, thinking about metrics. And if we could start the conversation where there are an existing set of people, that might help.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, good idea.
Just that meets, I think this is Dawn. This is the common meeting week. Is that right? I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
I just sent out
so
the reminder.
okay. So it meets every other week, the value working group. Stephen, I'll send you an invite, but it meets every
Right.
other week on Thursday at 10 o'clock US Central, so 11 o'clock your time. And it's not this Thursday, but it would start whatever, the 22nd. Did I get that all right? It would be the 22nd at 11 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, the only thing, so Sustain does their academic thing every 2 weeks at 11:45. So that's viable. I can, if they end up being the same 2 alternating weeks, I can hop out for the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, and we could just start with
And
kind of the things that you'd be looking at.
Right, and if they're not running on the same weeks, then even better.
Right on. I think that works out well. And then if there's, Georg, if you invite folks from OSPO++, maybe start with the value working group. And then if it gets to be a large enough set of people, we could
spawn it.
Yeah, have its own meeting time. Yep, cool. Right on.
That works for me. Thanks.
Solve something.
Great. I love when we are productive. That's awesome. Let's see. So the next one, we're going to just jump right ahead. We're going to be moving. We're just going to announce this every time we meet. Every time you see us, we're going to be telling you again that November 1st and on, we're going to have a new Zoom link that is from the LF. So thank you to them. It'll be a little more open too. We won't require someone from the University of Nebraska to be involved. So Matt can maybe, or all of the University of Nebraska people could go on vacation and we would be okay. It would be fine. So
I keep thinking at UNO, if they actually looked at the stats on this particular channel, they'd be like, what is going on with this one channel? Because it hosts all our meetings.
So we're still working that out.
So just a logistics question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say on the participate page on the website, it still lists the other links. I'm assuming that'll update at some point.
Yep. We'll be updating that page along with the newsletter on the side. We link in the actual CHAOSS calendar. We have those links everywhere. So we're in the process of vetting where all those places are to make sure we hit them all. And also trying to decide if we set up a different link for every meeting or if we just use one. So we have a few things to sort out, but hopefully we'll have everything ready. We will have everything ready by November 1st. So anything after that time will be on the new Zoom link. And we'll also put it in these minutes and everything too, so everybody can know. And we'll do the mailing list as well and probably tweet it. So So stay tuned, but be ready when it happens. And then the next item on the list, I always want to say the next item up for bid, and that's not right. The next item on the list is the translation, which I believe probably Matt was to talk about a little bit.
Can be super quick here. So the translations, we're having basically the metrics pages translated, all of the metrics that have been released translated, and we're doing it in Chinese and Spanish, and those will be done by the end of the month. So that was all I wanted to give you, was the timeline on that.
I'm very sorry that I have dogs barking. I will shut up in a minute.
Okay.
But I wanted to, I wanted to say, do we have any questions about that actually, before we move on? About translation?
My only comment was we're going to have to think about a little bit of a workflow. So for example, some of the evolution metrics, they changed the term review to change request. You know what I mean? So like when that kind of stuff happens, like there's a small tweak in a metric, we're going to have to update that as well. That's all. And then any new metric that gets released, I think we can use get localized to do it ourselves. That would kind of be the plan. But see you, Stephen. Anyway, I think we have to think about a little bit of a workflow for newly released metrics or slightly changed metrics. Like how do we track that and then get it updated?
Matt, is there a team that works on that, or who, like if someone wanted to be involved in those conversations, is that something that needs to happen, or is it just kind of like we'll sort it out as we go?
It's been pretty ad hoc up until now. So
okay.
It's probably the latter, sort it out as we go for now.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, if anyone has any questions about that stuff, you can send them to Matt, and I'm sure he'll respond within minutes because that's how he is. So you'll get an answer very quickly. Okay, let's go to all things open. I just wanted to point out that there's still time to help out with the booth if you want to do that. I've never done that before, so it's like a learning experience for all of us. So don't worry if you've never done it before, because I haven't either. And it's a really cute little interface. It's like visual with little places where people can click, and it looks like a booth. It's very cute. And it has like the moon theme, because that's the all things open is like space and exploration, I guess. And so our booth has a little lunar landing guy in the back. It's pretty great. So anyway, if you want to be a part of that, feel free to click on that link where it says help out with the booth. And also all things open is free to register, and there is some amazing tracks and some amazing talks. So highly recommend that you register for that if you have the time and energy and the desire to do so. And you can just click on that. And then I see Ray.
At all things open, I have a Project Health talk where I talk about Augur and Grimoire Lab and a bunch of other stuff.
And when is that, Dawn?
Oh, golly.
Sorry, I didn't want to mean to put you on the
It's
spot.
next week.
The 19th or 20th, one of those 2 days.
I think it was on Tuesday. It's on Tuesday. It's at I think, let's see, time zones are hard. 8 a.m. Pacific-ish.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that up, Dawn. I'm going to actually make a note. I want to put that in the weekly. Great. Is anyone else giving a talk? Georg, anybody else giving a talk? Okay.
Yeah, I have a talk, but it's related to documentation, not necessarily on metrics. So, but
Ray.
I mean, indirectly, I'll reference recognizing people through metrics and how we also count contribution to docs, but won't be mentioning.
Yeah, I think you should. For sure.
I won't be mentioning
CHAOSS.
CHAOSS or metrics directly, but indirect reference to it.
Okay. People can read between the lines. It's fine.
Yep.
It's good. As long as you
Looks
wear
like
like a big CHAOSS shirt, then we're okay.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to.
I'll definitely do that. So.
Or a hat. We've been talking about getting hats. I'm just kidding. Sorry, Matt.
Oh, well, Manrique looks like he's also doing a presentation.
Yep, he does, but I haven't seen the presentation. So
Okay, I'm guessing.
he might be talking about metrics, probably.
I would suspect.
All right. Also, Ray asked, are we still having this meeting next week during ATO? It's really up to y'all if you want to do it. I think Matt is doing booth duty, so I can be here. But if other people would rather attend the conference, that's completely fine. I'm super happy to not have a meeting. Totally fine, whatever we want to do. What does everyone think?
I'm not here, as you said, so.
Yeah, it's likely I won't be attending this call.
Are people also attending OSS EU the week after? I'm just wondering if we're going to be able to realistically have many meetings the last 2 weeks of the month because of ATO and then OSS EU.
Yeah, I just got confirmation that my session at Open Source Summit will be interactive. We can have birds of feather about metrics. I invite you all. We can just have this meeting.
Put it in the minutes. Is it in there?
Not yet. I'll put it in.
Okay. And if it is during this meeting, that would be a great other thing to do if it is during this time by chance.
So I think next week, I think we could probably still have the meeting. I'll show up. I don't know if anyone else wants to show up, I'll be here. So yeah, if we would just need someone from UNO to be here because we haven't moved over yet. So I don't know.
I'll at least log in and make you host. I'll at least do that.
Awesome. And then as far as OSS EU goes, what, Georg, do you happen to know off the top of your head what days of the week that lands on?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in 2 weeks.
But Thursday is mostly like special things like the security summit, and it's not a full conference day. It's special events, co-located events.
I guess we can leave it up to the working groups then if they want to cancel or host. And again, I think we're okay to host. Somebody will be here. So.
Yeah, I'll be there for the OSS EU week, kind of like you with ATO next week. If there's not a lot of people, that's totally cool.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, anything else on that stuff? Or anything that we've talked about so far? Because we're powering through this agenda like it's butter. So we have tons of time. Speaking of cutting the meeting short, we actually have time. So, and I'm rushing. I don't know why. I'm anxious today.
It's just planting the seed even makes it go faster.
Right? Yes. Oh, I did want to say, just as an aside, and Matt, you can cut this out of the recording if you want, but I know that I have personally missed. I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you. You're awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's go on a happier note. Let's talk about new metrics. We have Project Burnout, which the Diversity and Inclusion Working Group has been working on for a while. And it's a really great metric. And if you haven't seen it, then you should. And then I see here it says need to get this on the website for review.
Is that, was that you, Georg? Had you said you were going to do that? Or
I created the pull request to get the metric into our repository. The pull request is still open, and I assume we'll review it this week. And then the next step would be to get it onto the website.
Okay. Sorry
which
about that then.
requires then additional steps.
I'll do it in the repo. I'll take a look at that PR in the repo because that's what you need first. Is that right?
Yeah, I assume we'll
Okay.
look it over tomorrow during the call.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Right on. That was it. It was just mostly a process question, Elizabeth. Georg.
Gotcha. Okay, so the next item is the marketing materials.
So
I'm
that's
pretty
me.
sure Matt put that on.
Yeah, well, because I just sent you an email. So we have some funds that we're gonna have with respect to marketing material. So kind of open for thoughts as to what we should be doing over this period of time right now. Like, should we be buying t-shirts? Should we be buying hats, socks? Should we be sending them to people? We have a chance to promote the project a bit. Basically what this comes down to is some reallocation of budget on my end because there's no travel at the moment. So this gives us an opportunity to use the funds in a different way. So if people have thoughts, we're fully open. If not, we'll just buy a lot of stickers, a lot of t-shirts or something like that. And how we might actually get them to people, and is there anything we can do in this regard? Because it just seems so distant, and I know this stuff is kind of nice still. Has anybody seen anything? Has anybody gotten anything from a conference, like physical item at all, like a poker chip or a t-shirt or anything?
Something Google did, and I didn't take them up on the offer, but they offered a few of us like a goodie box that I assume was full of like Google swag, but I have so much of that stuff. I was like,
it had a coffee mug and exercise bands and lotion.
Yep.
And
I think
tea.
we got the same box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sophia.
So that's one example.
Yeah. I like it.
I got a care package for speakers, but I don't know if they sent them out to like regular attendees. But I mean, it was kind of cute. They had like a sign that I can put on the door handle, so it's like recording in progress or presentation in progress, because we're all doing this virtually, right? But I think those are more like expensive items. But yeah, I mean, all of us being virtual, I think it's hard to like send even things like stickers out like until we are all in, like we can all get together in person. But.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you think of international shipping and customs.
Yeah,
hard.
I mean, shipping just outrageous. It like to ship even simple things like domestically could cost more than the merchandise, right? I mean, some of these cost like close to like $8 to $9 for, so it's probably not financially like worthwhile. And then somebody will have to like individually store them in their garage and ship them out, so it's hard.
All right. Other thoughts?
So, I mean, is there other marketing that we can do that's not swag? I'm not a marketing person, so I feel like pretty out of my element, but I just wonder if there's other stuff we could do to promote the project that we could use funding for.
And that's fair too, because the move line item is for marketing, not just for t-shirts.
And is it enough for something like additional sponsorships or other ways that we can be featured at any of the virtual events, either if it's just like not a full booth, but it could just, I don't quite know what the size of the fund is. I feel like those are different categories of things if we're talking about like an order of hats versus an event sponsorship.
Yeah, no, I think that would fit. I think that's fair. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I mean, typically they have like a lower dollar figures for like open source project sponsorships, right? Versus like typical diamond gold, which could go into thousands, which we probably don't want to do, but
Yeah, that's a real good idea.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what other folks think about this, people that have been part of the organizing committee for CHAOSS.Con. I mean, we can just bank the money for now and reserve it for the future CHAOSS.Con, like, you know, whether it's virtual or like in person. My guess is in person is not going to happen until like the second half of next year at the earliest.
Yeah.
But even if it's like a virtual event, we can just sort of bank that money for the next event that we're going to have.
Yep. Also fair. Right. It's not like it's burning a hole in my pocket. This
Right.
just, this move just happened the other day. So.
Is there a date at which it goes away? I mean, is there?
No, it's really just at the end of the grant, and that's 3 years from now.
We can get a nice big banner and have it be pulled by an airplane across all of our cities.
That's a really good idea. You should put that in the minutes.
I was thinking buy a blimp. But, something I also wanted to mention.
Use drones.
Something else I wanted to mention about the pulling it back to the swag or gifts, things like that, is something I worked in a student organization. I'm part of it now, but one of the biggest lessons I've learned from that is the best kind of swag you can give, or the best kind of gifts you can give, are the ones you can't find in like we'll print your logo on a piece of swag and then send it out to this conference or whatever. Like something that's like the uniqueness really matters in this kind of situation, at least to me. But I wanted to voice that.
Right on.
So now we need a mascot so that we can have like a little plush mascot thing or something.
I'm still convinced it should be a snake because of the 2 S's at the end of chaos. I'm just going to put that out there for everybody.
Sound friendly to me.
It has to be a lovable snake, though, not like a scary.
Oh no, I agree.
Has to be like a little cute, with little fangs, little happy snake.
I totally agree. This is why we can't end the meetings at 30 minutes.
Yeah, like this is a gecko. Like everybody has one of those, and they've been giving them out at conferences since since almost like 2000. Like the last 20 years, the exact same thing, but everybody loves them. It's, you know, little plushy Sousa lizard gecko, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm looking for mine right now. I don't know where.
Yeah, mine's in the bedroom. It's in the other room.
This thing?
Yes, there it is. Everyone has one.
Everyone has one.
All right, I like that too.
Okay, so it seems like we decided to maybe just hang on to that money for now until we figure something out and get an actual plan in place.
I heard get a plushy snake. That's what I heard.
Hi, John. Do we have anyone that is can do that? Like, do we have any graphic design people? Where's Ariel? She comes sometimes. They come sometimes.
The funds could be used for that too. So
yeah. Okay.
I do know of a company, I forget the name of it right now, that does take like children's drawings and turns them into plush toys. So sounds like something that you might be able to do too.
I think
so you're saying there's a low
qualify.
bar?
Maybe we can open a drawing contest on the mailing list, like we did for the CHAOSS.Cast logo. Say, hey, we are looking for a CHAOSS mascot. Any suggestions?
I love that idea. Like 1,000% love that idea.
But Matt, you now have committed to draw us a snake.
I cannot do that.
Okay, so we will take that and run with it somehow. Make some progress on that. I really, really like that idea a lot. Okay, the last item on the, is there anything else? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut that short. Okay. So the last item is CHAOSS.Cast has a sponsor. Hooray, hooray. Georg, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we are partnering with Sustain OSS, our friends who hold a yearly conference on how do we sustain the open source ecosystem and projects. And they recognize that the metric conversation is important, and they have their own podcast, which is excellent. You should listen to it. And so we're going to partner with them so that we can sustain our own podcast for the next few years as well. So I'm super grateful that this is happening. We are still finalizing a few things. So in the next couple episodes, you'll start hearing some sponsorship messages from them.
That's another thing we could use marketing dollars for, right, Matt? If Sustain OSS doesn't cover everything, or if there's something additional we need, I mean, a podcast is marketing, right?
Yes. In fact, that was in the parentheses of example things would be podcast support. So that was Georg too. You and I had talked about what Don had just brought up. So that's a possibility too.
Or if we need to promote that somewhere, promote our podcast somewhere, like have it paid to be listed.
Yes.
Something. I don't know what those options are, but yeah.
Yep, certainly.
Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Google, whatever their marketing platform is called. But I don't think that's a good use of our money.
Fair enough. You know more about that stuff than I do for sure. All right, well, we have come to the end of our agenda. So who else has anything in the last 9 minutes that they would like to bring up?
I just had one thing because I see Dwayne is on. Dwayne, we had a pretty big talk about dependencies in the risk working group.
Yeah,
last Thursday. So I'm just going to put the link to the minutes in the chat, and you can kind of track that way if you want. So Sophia had some really good ideas, and David Wheeler was on the call too and had some really good input from his perspective. So that discussion has kind of moved into the risk space. I know dependencies can live in a variety of locations, but that was where one of the big discussions occurred last week.
Thanks for the.
And we brought up Mariner.
Oh, sweet. Hi everybody. I joined like halfway through the call and was kind of lurking. I know most of y'all, at least by name and face. Thanks for the pointer, Matt. I'll take a look. And so that if I want to tune into that conversation, that's happening over in the risk working group at this point, because we kind of started over in the value working group, which is the.
But it'll occur in a variety of different places. So we didn't want to localize it. We had talked about if there's one working group that should pick it up, but the general tenor was that dependencies can have an impact in a variety of different locations. So if value fits better for your time, we can talk there too.
I'm going to try to chase it wherever it goes, depending on my capacity. So,
okay,
but
right on.
Thanks for the heads up.
You bet.
I also, since I was just talking, added a thing in the marketing notes around doing an analysis of projects on Open Collective and issuing gift cards with funds as a marketing ploy is a weird word there, but it's like a marketing idea. But I didn't want to chime in on the conversation because I was still lurking. So I just added comments to the minutes.
How does this work? What you were just talking about, Dwayne?
So let me, I guess I'll unpack my thought a little better. You can issue gift cards through Open Collective for people to donate to their projects as long as they have an Open Collective. but it would be an interesting demonstration of what the CHAOSS group can do to do an analysis of projects that are on Open Collective and you know, make some observations about who it seems like it needs funds or makes the best use of funds, or just derive some insights based off of what you see on projects on Open Collective, and then use the funds to issue gift cards to community members and have them pick where they want those funds to go. The interesting part, I think, would be like the observations that you can make about projects and how they use money based off of the group's collective experience with metrics. So.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, anything else that we need to discuss today or decide or produce? I guess not.
All good.
All right, 5 minutes you get back. You're welcome. Have a great day, everybody. See you
Thanks,
later.
everybody.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.